Hello and welcome. Tonight, the President restates his administration's commitments to creating opportunities for young people, especially in the digital economy, as Nigeria joins the world to mark International Youth Day. Troops continue the onslaught against bandits in Kaduna State, neutralize 3 of them, and rescue 10 kidnapped victims in separate operations in 2 local government areas. Tribunal reserves judgment on the petitions filed by the governorship candidate of the Labour Party, Gbadebo Rhodes Viva, and that of the PDP, Olajide Adediran, against the victory of Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu. And death toll in the wildfires on the Hawaii island of Maui rises to 80.
And on business news tonight, Nigeria's forex reserves remain under pressure this week as the gross reserves decreased by $44.41 million to $33.88 billion.
On sports news tonight, Arsenal begin their Premier League title challenge with a win over Nottingham Forest as Newcastle United put 5 goals past Aston Villa.
Well, young people the world over are the center of attention today as the world marks the International Youth Day. And here in Nigeria, President Bola Tinubu is reaffirming the commitment of his administration to creating meaningful opportunities for Nigerian youths. This is contained in a statement by his special advisor on media and publicity during Galale to mark the day. President Tinubu acknowledged the growing interest and impact of many young Nigerians in technology-related fields and vowed to honor his campaign commitment of generating 1 million new jobs in the digital economy. According to the president, youth empowerment is a fundamental pillar of all reform action being implemented across sectors to create an environment where Nigerian youths can thrive and contribute to the growth and development of the nation. He implored the youth to spearhead efforts aimed at achieving the highest quality of sustainable development. Now, the world is in dire need of solution-driven youths who are bold enough to champion causes and address the myriads of challenges the world is faced with. This was the main thrust at a Youth Leadership Summit in Lagos, organized by the United Nations in partnership with SMILE, a non-governmental organization, to mark the 2023 International Youth Day. Well, the day is a special day recognized by the United Nations and observed on August the 12th every year to draw attention to issues impacting young people globally. Our correspondent, Kelly Agega, reports.
It's an assembly of youths from different parts of the country to celebrate the United Nations 2023 International Youth Day.
To fast-track the actualization of your dreams.
Speaker after speaker highlights the role of young people in nation building, as well as networking platforms and opportunities.
The citizenry is the first pillar. You are the first pillar of the nation. Then the ideology is next. What are we gathered around? What do we want to achieve? What is the DNA of a Nigerian? Some people say corruption. Get out if you say so. For me, it is resourcefulness. It is that resourcefulness that now shows like corruption. You know, give us a law. The first thing is, how do we beat it? And you are not born in your nation by accident. I say a patriot is someone who believes that their country is blessed by having them born in it. We cannot all jackbow.
It is absolutely important for all hands to be on deck. Government cannot do it alone. So we need organizations like SMILE. We need the United Nations to ensure that our youths reach the potential that they need.
Conveners of the Leadership Summit take turns to provide solutions to the challenges.
We are saying we will not accelerate achievement of the SDGs without a multi-partner, stakeholder partnership. Government needs to provide a conducive environment. Businesses need to thrive, and governments need to enable that, need to cut down red tape that exists. The private sector needs to do at least 2 things. One is to create jobs that are in the green economy for young people. And secondly, private sector is also about providing resources.
I think we don't have a proper system in place that educates them. It's not about what they learn in the four walls of school. What we deal with on a daily basis at an organization is those that just need clarity. The issues is lack of mentorship. The issues also are lack of resources. What are resources? I'm not talking about material again. It's the capacity building. They need to be the capacity, their skills, their values, all that needs to be invested in, and we're not doing enough of that. These kind of programs we're organizing are not found in the four walls of school. They are beyond school. They're things that community, they're things that different institutions, religious need to engage in and keep investing in them.
Some participants speak of the takeaways from the event.
I made up my mind to push through, take the lead, take charge, and learn a skills.
I've learned that I should take charge of my future, and my future is now. And the summit has taught me that it's not too late or too early to start whatever I have envisioned in myself. Regardless of the situation of the country, I should always be positive and I should always start.
The theme for the 2023 International Youth Day is Green Skills for Youth towards a sustainable world. And organizers believe a successful transition towards a greener world will depend on the development of green skills in the young population. Kelly Egiga, Channels Television News.
And more than ever before, the call for increased investment in youth development by providing the enabling environment for young people to thrive in Nigeria is on the rise. Well, our next report focuses on the potential of young people in Nigeria, their challenges, and what can be done to help them reach their full potential.
For over 2 decades, since the year 2000, young people from around the world mark the United Nations International Youth Day on August 12 every year. The theme for this year is Green Skills for Youth Towards a Sustainable World. It seeks to draw global attention to the need to leverage the opportunities in the non-oil sector to provide jobs for young people and also protect the environment. To mark the day in Nigeria, several youth groups from different walks of life meet to have conversations about their potential and challenges and how to address them.
Today, we have come to make our resolutions, and we have also come to call on the government to say the Nigerian youth are ready for productivity. The government should engage actively with the Nigerian youth. We want to identify the opportunities that are present before us. We know that, yes, there are challenges, but we are standing with a strong resolve today that we will surmount the challenges that face us as a country. All we need from the government is a firm partnership.
We are trained to be dependent, so we go out and search for jobs instead of going out to become employers of labor. So I challenge us today to challenge the system.
Unemployment appears to be a major challenge that resonates among the youth, a situation many believe is the reason why there is a mass exodus for greener pastures outside the shores of Nigeria.
But the cause of our problem in Nigeria is unemployment. Once the youth are engaged, if I'm engaged or the youth are engaged, cannot have the time to go and commit crime in the criminality. So we believe that the unemployment in Nigeria is one of the key factors why we have massive insecurity.
You see, NSAS, Japa syndrome, the aggressiveness shown during the election are symptoms of the general frustration of the young people. Today, the young people are fast losing trust of their leaders, and that should be a matter of concern. So if we have to address this, first, the issue of corruption even among political office holders, and the issue of intimidation, and weaponizing of poverty has to be addressed.
When you lack proper planning, integration, you will continue making your citizens frustrated. And out of frustration, we will now look for greener pastures. That is the word now Japa comes in. So I wouldn't blame our Nigerian youth who are leaving the country.
Aside from the issue of unemployment, The challenge of substance abuse among young people is another area of concern, and some youth are marking the day at the Unity Fountain in Abuja with a walk to raise awareness on the dangers of drug abuse.
We are trying to encourage, we're trying to sensitize young people to focus more on self-productivity, to focus more on entrepreneurship, to focus more on trying to develop themselves, trying to develop the country and desist from the use of drugs.
Nigeria is the most populous country in Africa, with an estimated 60% of its over 200 million people under the age of 26, making it a country of mostly young people whose voices cannot be ignored.
Well, for more on the 2023 International Youth Day, we're joined on the news at 10 by Mr. Rotimi Olawale, who is the Executive Director of Youth Hub Africa, joins us live from our Abuja studio. It's good to have you on the news at 10, Mr. Olawale. Well, half of the people on our planet are 30 years or younger, and here in Nigeria, the median age is said to be, 18? So we're a nation of young people. But how would you describe the reality of the average Nigerian youth today?
I think in Nigeria today we have a set of young people who are facing myriads of challenges. I think the level of frustration amongst young people in Nigeria today is very high. Unemployment, youth unemployment in Nigeria is also quite high, more than 30%. And so this is something of concern. And also the level of education that we're seeing, although we have some people who are very educated, but at least over 40% of young Nigerians are not even finishing secondary education. And also this is also another point of concern. Of concern also is the issue of violent extremism that we have seen in Nigeria, which is now being dealt with. But this is also something that we must continue to nip in the bud in order to ensure that young people in Nigeria have the opportunity for growth and to contribute to development.
So let's talk about participation in governance, which is a major part of the conversation. Globally, just about 2% of young people are parliamentarians. It's even worse for women, just less than 1%. For this government, both at federal and state level, how would you rate youth participation in governance? Perhaps what should be done should even be the question now.
I think that we're seeing some improvements. The Not Too Young to Run bill that was passed into law has provided opportunities for young people to be parliamentarians. We've seen some at federal level, and we have seen some also at state level. I think beyond elective positions, we need to create opportunities for young people to engage with the policy-making processes. And I must congratulate Mr. President for selecting a university student very recently to join a presidential committee on tax. And we need to see many more of these because we must tap into the talent and the creativity of young people in order to contribute to nation building and to development in Nigeria.
Well, the term better tomorrow has been used time and again. It's like promising young people that, well, they should look forward to tomorrow. But from what we've seen, a lot of people, young people particularly, may be losing hope. I'd like you to speak directly to a young Nigerian tonight who may have lost hope about his or her future or the future of the nation. What words would you tell them?
I think that I would continue to encourage young people across Nigeria that this is our home. The green, white, green is our flag, and we must continue to protect and defend our nation and continue to have hope. We have people who have risen through Nigeria, conquered poverty, raised themselves, done education, gone into entrepreneurship, and built something out of nothing. And many more young people can do so. We need government to continue to support in ways that it can. Like I always say to everybody, in Nigeria and across the world, what talent is evenly distributed, what we don't have enough of is opportunities. And we need government to support to create opportunities for young people with the right set of policies so that young people in Nigeria can continue to thrive.
Well, Mr. Rotimi Olawale, the Executive Director of Youth Hub Africa, thank you so much for your time on the news at 10 tonight. And happy International Youth Day to you as well.
Thank you.
Well, in part two, after the break, Tri-State Healthcare System performs the first set of minimally invasive open-heart surgeries in Nigeria. Well, that's in a moment. So stay with us. back. If you've just joined us, you're watching the news at 10, coming to you live from Channels Television. A reminder of our top stories. The president restates his administration's commitments to creating opportunities for young people, especially in the digital economy, as Nigeria joins the world to mark the International Youth Day. Troops continue their onslaught against bandits in Kaduna State, neutralize 3 and rescue 10 kidnapped victims in separate operations in 2 local government areas. Tribunal reserves judgment in the petitions filed by the governorship candidates of the Labour Party, Gbadebo Roseviver, and that of the PDP, Olajide Adediran, against the victory of Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu. And death toll in the wildfires on the Hawaii island of Maui rises to 80. Now to health matters. The first set of minimally invasive open-heart surgeries has taken place in Nigeria. Well, the groundbreaking operation was carried out by a combined team of foreign and local medical experts at the Tri-State Healthcare System in Lekki, Lagos. According to the medical director of the hospital, Professor Kamar Adeleke, the procedure significantly reduces the risks of stroke, infection, heart failure, hospital stay, and cost to patients. The correspondent Chris Elims reports.
It's going to be a busy day at the Tri-State Healthcare System in Lagos. The facility is getting some facelift.
This is our new manager, who comes from South Africa.
And the staff strength is also not left out. The big story is that while the hospital may have carried out over 120 open-heart surgeries nationwide, 4 more cases are lined up for today with totally different procedure.
Now we are doing certain techniques that never been done in Nigeria before, which is great, because the first one that we are doing is what they call the minimal invasive. Minimal invasive means that you just minimize how much, opening you do on the chest when you are doing open heart surgery.
Some top surgeons and state-of-the-art medical equipment have arrived from Turkey, and the team is set to complement their Nigerian counterparts.
Today we will do 2 operations. One is the mitral valve surgery, and the other is the CABG, the coronary artery bypass grafting.
But this time, apart from the fact that it's minimally invasive, we are also not going to stop the heart. So the heart is going to be beaten while we bypass all the blocked vessels.
First patient on the list today is an 81-year-old female who is in for a valve replacement.
Here. Oh, okay. So this particular one is what we use to size the valve. So we know now what is the size of the valve, because you must know the size to be able to put the right ring there. You don't want the size to be too big. You don't want it to be too small.
Diagnosis: severe mitral valve regurgitation.
All the checks and balances are carefully carried out. The delicate nature of open heart surgery, combined with the patient's age, adds to the complexity and tension in the operating room.
Come on, please. Okay, slowly.
However, the experienced team of surgeons, nurses, perfusionists, anesthetists, and the state-of-the-art equipment available make the process appear seamless.
The patient is already put on life support. All the IV that they need to put, they already did that.
Despite the roller coaster of emotions, each step of the procedure is carefully executed, with the entire team displaying remarkable coordination and expertise. After several hours of intense focus, the surgical team carefully completes the milestone open heart surgery.
And everybody in the room, thank you very much. We appreciate it. Thank you.
And an excited Professor Kamar Adeleke sums it all up.
As a Nigerian that loves Nigeria, you can't be happier that Nigeria can really do this. Nigeria can come out of a mess. When Nigeria put the minds into something, it is doable.
One down, 3 more to go. While the patient is allowed to recuperate, Hassan recounts his experience.
I just went into the theater and I asked Prof. I said, oh, that patient on the table, what is that patient having done? And Prof said, that is your mom having her keyhole surgery. Believe you me, as a surgeon of over 35 years standing, I almost passed out. There's a certain phrase that just doesn't go together. Number 1, keyhole surgery. Number 2, heart. Number 3, Nigeria. Those 3 don't go together. For the first time in living history, it has come together. I'm really, really, really proud.
While an individual may have inspired this landmark medical event, it is, however, an indication that standard healthcare is possible in Nigeria if given the right attention. From the Tri-State Healthcare Center in Lagos, Chris Elems, Channels Television News.
Also security matters. Troops of 1 Division Nigerian Army have continued their clearance operation of criminal hideouts in Kaduna State, neutralizing 3 bandits in an operation in Kabode, Chikom local government area. 1 AK-47 rifle loaded with 28 rounds of ammunition, 1 camo jungle hat, 3 mobile phones and cash, among other items, were recovered. A statement from the Acting Deputy Director, Army Public Relations 1 Division, Lieutenant Colonel Musa Yaya, adds that a day before, troops carried out an operation in Birnin Yero village of Igabi Council, also in Kaduna State. It says the operation followed credible intelligence of a kidnap incident in Dambaba village. On sighting the troops, the bandits took to their heels and abandoned all 10 kidnapped victims, who have now been reunited with their families. And on to politics. The Imo State Governor, Mr. Hope Uzodimma, has unveiled Lady Chinyere Ekomaru as his running mate for the November 11th governorship election. Addressing party supporters in Owerri, the Imo State capital, during the unveiling, Governor Uzodimma says the decision to pick Lady Ekomaru as his running mate is based on the fact that she will add value to the ticket. According to the governor, his administration has kept faith with Imo people and fulfilled all campaign promises, and if elected governor for the next 4 years, he promises to build on the foundation laid to deliver industrial prosperity and a safe Imo State.
Today we are here to reinforce our genuine claim for re-election. I have picked a female deputy governorship candidate in the person of Lady Chinyere Ekomaru. I believe that she will add value to this ticket. I expect Imo women to appreciate this gesture as my genuine appreciation of their innate strength and capacity to make contribution to the growth of our state. The stakeholders are aware of why this particular decision was taken, because the process of choosing her was all-inclusive. I plead with all of us to accept and make peace with it.
Well, elsewhere, Governor Obasani of Kaduna State has denied a social media story which claims that he opposed the ministerial nomination of his predecessor, Mr. Nasir El-Rufai, or his recommended replacement. Mr. El-Rufai is among the 48 ministerial nominees sent to the Senate by President Bola Tinubu, but he's yet to be confirmed on the basis of pending security reports against him. And following the withdrawal of his nomination, the former governor reportedly met with the president within the week and told him he was no longer interested in being a minister and recommended that his former commissioner, Jafar Sani, should replace him. while countering the trending social media story that he met with the president and rejected Mr. Jafaru as false. Governor Sani told Channels Television that he only met with President Tinubu to discuss recent issues concerning his predecessor's ministerial nomination, and at no time did he oppose or reject the man that was recommended by Mr. El-Rufai. In Edo State, the government has launched the John Odigio Oyegun Public Service Academy in Benin City, the state capital. While the academy, named after the first executive governor of the state, who turned 84 today, is aimed at driving accelerated human capacity building within the state public service and was institutionalized on June the 1st. The state government says it has trained 5,000 civil and public servants in the state as of today.
The John Odigio Oyegun Public Service Academy, JUPSA, with a vision to be a learning and development brand renowned for strengthening public institutions in Africa, has drawn these guests to its formal launch. The man the academy is named after, the first executive governor of the state and a former permanent secretary, handles the ribbon cutting ceremony with the state governor and other dignitaries present.
In the name of the Holy Spirit, may all those who pass through this poster, the portals of this academy, prosper.
A quick tour of the facility follows. The group is led round workstations, digital innovation lab and amphitheater, among others. Guests thereafter get the chance to hear more about the facility.
JUPSA, named after a living legend, by the way, it's an honor, sir. Chief John Odigio Oyegun was founded to strengthen the public service institution through capacity building. Many scholars argue that we will not go very far until we have strengthened our institutions.
The governor of the state, Mr. Godwin Obaseki, says the academy was birthed from the belief that only a well-skilled workforce can drive meaningful and impactful change in governance. He also lists steps the government has taken to digitalize its public service.
Edo State is going digital. That's the direction the world has taken. Today, we're talking about AI, artificial intelligence. We're talking about the Internet of Things. We cannot go back to where we used to be. Therefore, Edo State has decided to go digital, and our public service is leading the way. We're investing in extensive digital infrastructure as we are now on the verge of completing the laying of 2,000 kilometers of fiber optics across Edo State.
The keynote speaker, Mr. Stephen Oronsai, who commends the government for the initiatives introduced to the civil and public service, also shares tips for excellence.
For the civil servants to work well, there must be a connection between the political head and the service. And the way you can deliver the policies of government to the citizens is actually through the civil servants. Now, the public servants are those who would implement certain aspects of the things that come out from government policy.
Former Governor Odigio Oyegun sees foresight at work. He also appreciates the facility being named after him.
Let me say emphatically that today I am very proud. Very proud that my name has been associated with an institution of such intense possibilities. With an institution, like I said in prayer, that will almost certainly serve as a lighthouse.
To ensure sustainability of the academy, the state government on 1st June 2023 signed a bill establishing the academy as passed by the State House of Assembly into law.
And to the course now, where the Lagos State Governorship Election Tribunal has adjourned to deliver its decision on the petition filed by the governorship candidate of the Labour Party, Gbadebo Road-Survivor, and that of the PDP, Olajide Adediran, popularly known as Jandor, to a date to be communicated to the parties. The Justice Aramashom-led panel gave this ruling after listening to the final written arguments of the parties in the two petitions. The petitioners are challenging INEC's return of Mr. Babajide Sanwo-Olu and Obafemi Hamzat in the March 18th governorship elections in the state. While the two petitioners were absent, the third respondent, the Deputy Governor of Lagos, Obafemi Hamzat, was present in court. Our judiciary correspondent, Shola Shirley, has a report.
The courtroom is packed full for these very important proceedings. It's the adoption of the final written addresses of all parties in the petitions filed by the Labour Party's governorship candidate, Gbadebo Rhodes-Vival, and that of the PDP, Olajide Adediran, popularly known as Jandor. Based on the agreement of parties, the three-man tribunal first listened to the adoption of final written addresses of parties in the petition filed by Rhodes-Vival. The petitioner had called a total of 10 witnesses in proof of his petition, and counsel to INEC, Senior Advocate of Nigeria Charles Edo State, in adopting his final written address, noted that the witnesses woefully failed to establish that the polls were not conducted in substantial non-compliance with the Electoral Act.
I believe we're able to show the court that INEC's conduct in this exercise that is being reviewed now by the court tribunal was in substantial compliance with law.
Counsel to the second and third respondents, Senior Advocate of Nigeria Chief Wole Olanipekun, and counsel to the APC, Senior Advocate of Nigeria Abiodun Owonikoko, in the adoption of their final written addresses, told the tribunal that the petitioner abandoned his petition in his final arguments. There was no reference to the second respondent, Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu, but instead the address dwelt on the third respondent and the issue of his dual citizenship. Counsel to the petitioner, Olagbade Benson, countered these arguments.
He made a declaration of allegiance to the United States of America. What's more, if Section 182(1)A says that once you have made a declaration of allegiance to another country, you are disqualified. It borders not on his citizenship. America developed today by opening up to other nationals. But they also have that understanding that if you don't give people the opportunity to retain their nationality of birth, it will be difficult to attract them to America. That's the advantage of having dual nationality in Nigeria. But we are misunderstanding and trying to now demonize the objective.
The tribunal also took arguments when parties adopted their final written addresses in the petition filed by the PDP and its governorship candidate, Jandor.
Our petition, as you heard, was premised on 2 grounds of disqualification against the governor, and the candidate was declared second by INEC after the elections.
All the arguments are in, and the tribunal has adjourned to consider its verdict. It will communicate the date of judgment to parties when it is ready. Shola Shirley, Channels Television News.
Well, it's been over 2 years since the Africa Continental Free Trade Area Agreement, that's AfCFTA, kicked off on January the 1st, 2021. Since Nigeria signed the agreement in March of that year, not much has been achieved in making the trade deal operational, owing to structural challenges, lack of consensus in trade protocols, and strategy among key players. Well, our next report looks at the agreement and what must be done to make it work for the socio-economic development of Nigeria.
The African Continental Free Trade Area Agreement, AfCFTA, is a free trade area founded in 2018 with trade commencing on the 1st of January 2021. It was created by African Continental Free Trade Agreement among 54 countries of the African Union nations. The free trade area is the largest in the world in terms of the number of participating countries since the formation of the World Trade Organization. Accra, Ghana serves as the Secretariat of the AfCFTA and was commissioned and handed over to the African Union by President Nana Akufo-Addo of Ghana on August 17, 2020. The essence of the agreement is to build partnerships for the region's socio-economic development.
It is encouraged that instead of Africa being a source of cheap raw materials to Europe and Americas, we can use our energies inside and lift our people out of poverty. It is estimated that if
AfCFTA becomes operational in full, is going to lift well over 30 million Africans out of poverty. And you know what that means? It's going to boom businesses, inside Africa, and then Africans will now realize their full potential.
In Nigeria, the Federal Executive Council, FEC, initially approved the signing of the agreement on the 14th of March 2021, following the conclusions of negotiations for Stage 1 of the agreement. However, this approval was suspended due to the need to critically evaluate the agreement with respect to Nigeria's national interest and determine the implications for the economy. Following this evaluation, the federal government approved the ratification of the agreement on the 4th of November 2020 and deposited the instrument of ratification on the 15th of December 2020, becoming the 34th state to ratify the treaty.
We're still at the teething stage of the implementation and monitoring of the agreement. So after the member countries have signed, there's still a lot left in terms of implementation and monitoring and engaging the public as well, because this is something that has been in the works for a very long time, but yet you find that most Africans don't know what it's really about. Most Africans don't understand the benefits, how it could help improve the economy, help improve the other African countries.
Some of the benefits of the AfCFTA to the Nigerian economy include large market access, free movement of labor, goods and services, and capital, to motivate Nigerian SMEs to expand their businesses to other African countries. Foster business growth and increase profit as well as contribute substantially to the development of manufacturing sector, increase in job opportunities and the demand for labor, thus reducing unemployment, create an opportunity for Nigerian professionals to seek employment in other African countries. Although the Nigerian Export Promotion Council, NEPC, says Nigeria recorded non-oil export earnings of $4.82 billion in 2022, with exports to countries such as the UK, China, Brazil, and the USA topping the list, trade amongst African countries seemed rather low.
This is glaring considering the fact that no African country make it to the top 15 importers of Nigerian products. In summary, 164,748.7 metric tons of products valued at 55.08 million were exported to various African countries. This amounts to a paltry 2.17% of the total export value recorded between January to June 2023.
Nigeria has great potentials to harness the benefits that comes with the implementation of the AfCFTA. This policy may just be one area the Nigerian administration may want to dust up to attain social economic developments.
Well, let's now examine this subject further, and joining us on the news at 10 is the director of the Center for the Promotion of Private Enterprise, Dr. Muda Yusuf, is live in our Lagos studio. Thank you for joining us on the news at 10. Thank you, Doctor, 2 years after AfCFTA, it was described as a game changer then. There was a lot of excitement and chatter about it, but it hasn't changed much. Where is the challenge from? Is it from those meant to do the trade, the business owners, the entrepreneurs, or is it a government policy thing? Where exactly is this challenge?
Well, we are talking about trade that involves about 54 countries. And the scope of negotiation is very, very elaborate. And we are talking about over 6,000 products, which has been classified into 90% that will be fully liberalized, 7% that is regarded as sensitive, which will be liberalized over 7 years or so, and 3% that will be completely excluded from trade. And this involves a lot of negotiation. There are about 3 phases of the negotiation. There's a negotiation that has to do with protocols on trade and services. There's also the negotiation that has to do with intellectual property, investment and competition. And there's a third one which has to do with digital trade. So because of the elaborate nature of the negotiation, and because of the need to build consensus as much as possible, that has delayed the pace of progress so far. And because of that slow pace, our AfCFTA Secretariat had decided to embark on what you can call a pilot test of trading, It's a kind of guided trade initiative. That is what they call it. Now, in that initiative, we have about 8 countries now, and that initiative was introduced in October 2022.
That's last year.
Last year. So a bit of trade is beginning to happen, but not something significant yet. And among the 8 countries, I think we have Ghana, Kenya, Tanzania, Mauritius, Rwanda, and a bit, but Nigeria is not there yet. So we are hoping that in the second phase of it, Nigeria will be there.
It appeared earlier on Nigeria was a bit reluctant to really get into the AfCFTA. I mean, it took some time before we eventually, ratified it. But so speak to the time frame then. When should we be looking to start reaping the benefits of this game changer? If you say it's a 7-year period before all of these areas are fine-tuned, what must we begin to do as a nation, even though we're not involved in the pilot, to ensure that businesses and others are able to benefit from AfCFTA?
Well, I think the African countries need to do a lot more. It's difficult to give a time frame. It's a function of the commitment of each of these countries to the spirit of continental trade integration. For instance, you have a major issue with visa. How do you trade if there is no free movement within the continent? Sometimes it's easier to get a visa to go to UK or US or get a Schengen visa than to get an African visa to African countries. Sometimes they give you a visa of just a month, 2 months, single entry. How much trade can you do with that? In addition to that, you have the issues of connectivity. How much connectivity do we have? Either by rail or by sea or by air, very limited connectivity. And you need to be properly connected to be able to trade. So these are issues. Then, of course, we have what we call non-tariff barriers. Even within the regional trading blocks, let's talk even about ECOWAS. Trading with ECOWAS sometimes can be a nightmare. If you talk to exporters, what they go through, because most of them travel by road. Between here, Benin Republic, Togo, Cote d'Ivoire, Senegal, and all of that. All manner of issues, having to move goods from Nigeria across the West African sub-region. So even at the regional level, there's still a whole lot of issues. So there's a need for this very serious commitment, to ensure that we ensure this progress with economic integration. And on top of that, we are now having all manner of political issues, coup and all of that, insecurity. All of these things are making it very difficult. So
it might even slow down the implementation.
Of course, they are already slowing down the implementation.
Oh, dear. But we'll have to thank you so much for laying all of these issues bare. Dr. Muda Yusuf, the Director of Center for the Promotion of Private Enterprise, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you very much, my pleasure. Thank you.
Well, there's more business on the news at 10, and here's Anne Nwaudu.
Thank you, Kayode. Hello and welcome to Business News. Let's begin with Nigeria's forex reserves. It remained under pressure this week as the gross reserves continued to decrease. Data coming from the Central Bank of Nigeria shows the gross reserves dropped by $44.41 million week on week to close at $33.88 billion as of August the 10th. Meanwhile, data from the Central Bank's 2022 report shows that the CBN owes Goldman Sachs $500 million and JP Morgan $7 billion in securities lending, with another $6.3 billion owed as forex obligations to investors. Analysts believe the CBN's ability to meet these obligations due to forex shortages might cost the country about 40% of its current reserves. And talking about forex, the market trading activity as the FMDQ exchange closed negative this week. The total turnover of transactions carried out at the FX spot, forwards and futures market all fell by 14.18% week on week to close at $390.6 million. A further breakdown shows the total value of transactions at the investors and the exporters window declined by 16.21% to $380.65 million, while transactions at the FX derivatives market rose by over 1,000% to $9.95 million. Also, the value of the naira depreciated by 0.26%, and that's about 1 naira 98 kobo in value terms to 770 naira 75 kobo against the dollar at the NAFEX window when compared to what it closed the previous week. And outside Nigeria, two major investment groups held separate property roadshows in London earlier today in a bid to woo diaspora interests. The Odua Group, led by its chairman, Otumba Bimbola Shiru, gathered British Nigerians to talk about the opportunities to invest through its real estate firm, Wema.
The most important thing is that we want to ensure that Nigerians in diaspora should be able to come home and invest at home. But they used to have problems because they are not sure who and who to talk to. Some of them have gotten their fingers burned. We've seen a lot of positive response from Nigerians because, see, the most important thing is for them to be sure that they are dealing with the right people. Another thing which I just mentioned during my speech is sustainability. How do we sustain this? Ensure that whatever we promise here, we must deliver when we get back home. Because the point is, there's no point in promising what you cannot deliver. And that is the focus. And we are trying to tell them, and having the Nigerian Commissioner here, speaking and putting it there that is supporting what we are doing. And the SSG from Ogun State, who's representing the governor of Ogun State, is there too. So it's just an assurance. And see, Odua is owned by the fourth largest economy in Africa. And those are the 6 southwest states. So it's important to be able to ensure that. And the deficit of housing, over 20 million, we can get it sorted out. And the only way to do that is ensure that we put all Nigerians to build that confidence.
Meanwhile, on the other side of the capital, Global Africa Investment Limited hosted the Nigeria-UK Property and Investment Show.
Would you get the kind of returns that you will derive investing in the Nigerian real estate sector? And I guess that Nigerians who serve the business people, they understand the arithmetics, and of course, when those opportunities do emerge, you can be certain that you'll get their attention. Globally, the very fact that we perceive particular nations in particular light, we believe that they are so great. They all have issues, but the reality there is their narrative, the ability to communicate their own story in a way that it will impose on your own senses. Years ago, we held for non-stop 10 years the Best of Nigeria Expo at the Excel Exhibition Center. Why would we spend that kind of money? Because it's all about the brand. It's all about the image. It's all about the perspective that you project.
Well, back home, the domestic equities market recorded a rather subdued performance this week. And also, its share index rose by 0.2% to settle at 63,325.37 points. The investors' interest in MTN Nigeria, Dangote Cement, and some Tier 1 banking stocks ensured the market closed in the green. Also, the month-to-date and year-to-date returns were slightly higher at plus 1.5% and plus 27.5% each. Elsewhere, weak activity levels persisted in the stock market as the trading volume and value decreased by 32.4% and 15.3% week on week. For the sectors, the banking, insurance indices recorded gains, while the consumer goods, industrial goods, and oil and gas indices all declined. Guinea Insurance emerged top gainer this week, followed by the Nishates and Chelm Arms, while John Holt's PLC maintained its top losing position. The trio of Sterling Financial Holdings Company, FBN Holdings, and Universal Insurance led top trades by volume, accounting for about 518 million shares traded in the week. And that's business news for this week. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Anne Nwawado. We head over now to Abuja for more on sports news with Victor Matthias.
Many thanks, Anne, and welcome to Abuja, where we take sports news. Now, Arsenal began their season with a 2-1 victory over Nottingham Forest after stunning goals from Eddie Nketiah and Bukayo Saka. Alexander Isak's clinical finishing helped Newcastle United to an emphatic victory against Aston Villa. Dominic Solanke salvaged a draw for AFC Bournemouth against West Ham United. Dobby the Cordova Reed scored the winning goal as Fulham edged to victory over Everton. while Luton Town's first match back in the top flight for 31 years ended in a heavy defeat. Hodgson Edwards spoiled Sheffield United's return to the elite division to give Crystal Palace a winning start. A Chelsea boss, Mauricio Pochettino, has maintained that he will make no excuses if the Blues fail to perform at their best in their Premier League opener against Liverpool on Sunday. Chelsea appointed Pochettino at the end of May after finishing a disappointing 2022-2023 campaign in 12th place, their worst league finish since 1994. In a bid to trim a bloated squad, the club has since moved on more than 15 players while bringing in 6 new players.
We are Chelsea. The history of the club is about to win. And even if we are in transition, people know, the fan knows, and you know, we cannot give the message that, okay, we are in transition. We need to win, and we need to be ready to win, and we are going to be ready to win against Liverpool, even if Liverpool is a really good team. The mentality for the player and the whole club is about to compete in the best way, to be strong and really believe in us and try to win.
Manchester City manager Pep Guardiola has confirmed star midfielder Kevin De Bruyne will be out for a while after suffering a hamstring injury against Burnley. De Bruyne limped off after 23 minutes in the opening game of the season on Friday, which treble winners Manchester City edged comfortably 3-0. The Belgian was replaced by summer signing Mateo Kovacic, who made his Manchester City debut. And Manchester City manager Pep Guardiola, well, I beg your pardon, moving on, England captain Harry Kane has described Bayern Munich as one of the biggest clubs in the world after joining the German champions. Kane ended his record-breaking career at Tottenham Hotspur to sign a 4-year deal with Bayern Munich for a fee worth a Bundesliga record of $110 million. The 30-year-old believes his move to the Bavarian Giants will bring out the best in him. Well, we have to wait and see till the end of the season how it will play out for Harry Kane in his new club. But that's how we wrap it up on Sports News. Thank you so very much for watching. I'm Victor Matthias. It's back to Kaide in Lagos.
Thank you, Victor. 80 people have now been confirmed dead by wildfires on the Hawaiian island of Maui. Officials say there are fears that the numbers will rise further in what is officially the U.S. state's worst natural disaster. Firefighters have been trying to contain fires in several areas, including the historic town of Lahaina, which has been utterly devastated. Hawaii's Attorney General has announced a comprehensive review into how the authorities responded to the wildfires. 6 people have died after a boat carrying migrants sank in the channel of the French coast. A spokesman from French coastal authorities says 2 people may still be missing after the vessel got into difficulty in the sea near Calais in the early hours of today, adding that about 58 people were rescued by British and French Coast Guards. The extent of injuries remaining unclear, and the exact numbers of those rescued have changed as more information was released. French authorities said a passenger ship first raised the alarm that an overloaded boat was in difficulty off the coast of Sangatte, and when the French lifeboat arrived, they found numerous people in the sea, with some screaming for help. Rescue crews say this is the 7th time this week that they have had to pull people from the water. And the main news again. President Bola Tinubu today restated his administration's commitment to creating opportunities for young people, especially in the digital economy space. And he made this promise as Nigeria joined the rest of the world to mark this year's International Youth Day. And the troops of the Nigerian army have continued their onslaught against bandits in Kaduna State, where they neutralized 3 terrorists and rescued 10 kidnapped victims in separate operations in 2 local government areas of the state. Well, that's the news at 10 for tonight, everyone. Thank you for watching. I'm Kairi Okikulu. Good night.